Islam came up, there was first Wallace Dean Mohammed, the son of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and then, there was a little discussion, and finally Minister Louis Farrakhan decided to return with the original theories and actions of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. When Minister Louis Farrakhan first came out, of course, now let's let you know, I've known Minister Louis Farrakhan for over 30 years and worked with him for over 30 years. Of course, we're not in the press all the time, but we're in contact all the time. And Minister Louis Farrakhan and I discussed much, step by step. Of course, the only thing I had in my mind was the African United Front. That's all I want. And Minister Farrakhan said, okay, he sees it, he understands it, but he needs to get a little bit stronger. Fine. In 1982, our party made an assessment, and we said, okay, the Nation of Islam is strong enough now to do the work for the African United Front. We cannot do it the All-African People's Revolutionary Party because from the time they see us, we tell them we're revolutionary, we're socialists, we ain't bending, we're anti-Zionist, you can do what you want, that's your problem. You understand? So we don't bend, but the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he's charming and, he's sentimental. Minister can quote Bibles, so he can sit down with preachers and all these others, etc. So after observing his movements, the All-African People's Revolutionary Party mandated me to go and visit Minister Louis Farrakhan and to give him the files of the African United Front and tell him that it was his responsibility to call the front. Of course, it was a task that I enjoyed undertaking. I hadn't seen him in some time, and I had a beautiful day. We spent the entire day at his house there in Chicago. He just separated from Dean Wallace Muhammad, and his forcibly coming back. And I took for him some old copies of Muhammad Speaks. Now, if you look at the old copies of Muhammad Speaks, every middle page that you open had two black hands reaching across the oceans calling for a united front. Every issue of Muhammad Speaks. We must know our history, and we will never be ungrateful to those who taught us. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad has taught me an awful lot, and I know he's taught our people an awful lot, and for that alone, I'll be forever grateful to him. Minister Farrakhan agreed to take the program. He had no choice. I told him, this is your program. This is what your leader says you're supposed to do. He ain't my leader, he's your leader. And you say you're following his footsteps, and he was getting ready to do it. He didn't do it. Here's your chance. You're supposed to do what he didn't do, So, of course, Farrakhan had no choice. He had to accept it. We were well prepared. Everything was in proper order to have, finally, once again, our African United Front. By when was Jesse first talking about running for president? It was 1984. 83 was announced. When did Farrakhan make the alliance with him? November 83. So by 82 I left. I went back to Africa. Everything was moving. I was in contact with Minister Farrakhan. Our party people were in contact, feeding us step by step. I came back in early 1983. I met with Minister Farrakhan. I explained to him precisely the steps that we thought we could help in bringing the African United Front together. After some time, he asked that we have a meeting late in the year, probably around September, October. I'm telling the truth exactly what was said at the meeting. Minister Farrakhan said to me, at that time, Jesse Jackson had declared he was going to run for presidency, and he was under a lot of threats, And I certainly thought that some crazy whitey was going to pop him, But I have no problem with it. My life is on the line all the time. I put my life on the line for one thing. You put your life on the line for another thing. I ain't got no problem with it. So Minister Louis Farrakhan came to see me. He said, and he's very clever, Minister Farrakhan. He's very clever. When he wants to soften you up, he comes, he always plays that violin for you. Oh, Brother Kwame, you're my younger brother. But you are so profound in political analysis. You surpass us all, that even though I am your older brother, I must come and seek advice from you. He's rough, he's rough on that violin. He sings some sweet songs on that violin. So, of course, after seeking my advice, he came to seek my advice. He said, I want to make a decision. I said, what's that decision? He said, I want to put the FOI at the disposition of Jesse Jackson to protect him. I said, well, if you want to do that, that's your decision. He said, well, you don't seem enthusiastic about it. I said, well, I'm not. He said, well, Jesse Jackson might get killed. I said, he probably will get killed. He said, don't you think we need to protect him? I said, that's your decision. It's your FOI. You know, he said, so now he saw that it was getting serious. He said, you know, he's clever. Because he'll switch on you fast. You know, if you don't switch with him, you'll be in back gear while he's in front gear. You're already saying yes when you thought you were saying no. Yeah, he's rough. He said, well, I bet if you were being hounded and attacked by people, you'd want the FOI to protect you. I reminded him very slowly and very carefully, Minister Farrakhan, when I was elected chair of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, the first public meeting I had as chair was a meeting with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in his house in Chicago, where I spent 15 hours. It's a fact. It was here that I met Muhammad Ali for the first time. This is way back. This is before, well, you old people, so I would say before you were born. We were talking about 1966 here, easily. 30 years ago, yeah. At the end of the meeting, of course, you know I'm a young man. I'm 26 years old at this time, you know, 26. I've heard the Honorable Elijah Muhammad all my life. What am I going to say to this man? This man used to raise me up, you understand? This man taught me things, gave me courage. I said, he's saying that on the radio? Is he crazy? Yeah, he's a white devil. That's what I said. They ain't nothing but white devils. That's what they, yeah. Yes. He tell the truth right out there. He wouldn't bite his tongue for nothing. You know, and I reminded Honorable Elijah, the Minister Farrakhan, I said, at the end of the day, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad looked at me. I was sitting directly across from his table. He said, son, he said, the devil wants you. I said, yes, sir. He said, son, the devil is out to get you. I said, yes, sir. He said, son, you must be careful. I said, yes, sir, I'll be very careful all my life. I've been working in a mine pit among the enemy, and I'm older now, I have more experience. So he said, they're mean, you know. I said, yes, sir, I know they're mean. He said, they're going to get you. I said, yes, sir. He said, so, son, I'm going to put the FBI at your the FOI at your disposition. Everywhere you go, I'm going to send out an order that the FOI must protect you. Now, you know, this was really too much for me, you know. So I said, well, sir, thank you, you know, but you know, the FOI is so busy. I'm so busy. I'm running here and there. This will be such a task for them. Really, I thank you, sir. I really appreciate it, sir. And I, you know, I go through all this humble pie about thank you, but I don't need it. You know what he said? He said, son, I wasn't asking you. That's just what he told me. And if you go and look at pictures in the past, you'll see everywhere I go, the FOI was there protecting me from the 60s. You will look and you will see that. So I reminded this to Minister Louis Farrakhan. I reminded him of it. And I said, Minister Farrakhan, the FOI will protect me, but I promise you they will never protect me because I want to be President of the United States of America. They might protect me because I want to rip up America, but never because I want to be President of America. Well, he saw that his clever trick didn't go so well. So he backed up again. He said, well, what do you think about the alliance? I said, it's a great mistake. He said, why? I said, because Jesse Jackson is a Democrat first and foremost. The Democratic Party jumps to the tunes of the Zionists. While the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee was a confrontational organization and confronted Zionism outright, the first place I read about the Palestinian struggle in this country was in the Mohammed Speaks newspaper. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught me about Palestine when no left-wing paper in this country did. And they talk about nationalism is chauvinism. Look at them. I saw pictures of Malcolm X shaking the hands of PLO representatives when the PLO was first organized in 1964 in Mohammed Speaks. In Mohammed Speaks. Therefore I told him, I said, the Zionists, they hate us, but they know you the first. So what I'm worried about is when they spoil the union and it splits. You understand? Which side of the fence you gonna be on? Because I know Jesse gonna be with the Zionists. Because that's the Democratic Party. I'm just brutally honest with you. I'm telling you exactly what was said between us. We had a very frank discussion. After that discussion, I told him, what about the African United Front? He said, it's still good. Of course, me, myself, I knew with the thing with Jesse, it was problems. But in spite of obstacles, you must do your work. In spite of obstacles, you must persevere. I said, well, I want you to meet John Jacobs of the Urban League. He said, I've never met him. I said, I'd like you to meet him. He said, you could arrange a meeting? Will he meet with me? I said, yeah, I can arrange a meeting. He'll meet with you. I arranged a meeting at Johnny Jacobs' office here in New York, in Manhattan. The first time they met each other, I just sat in the background, talk. So well did our meeting go that Minister Louis Farrakhan and Johnny Jacobs signed a letter that day issuing a call for a united front among the political organizations in this country. We have it in our files. When the time comes, we will demonstrate this. The Urban League has a copy, Farrakhan has a copy, and Major Hatcher from Gary has a copy, because at that time he was head of the mayors, and we were working with him, of course. Of course, I went back to Africa. It didn't take me long before I heard all this nonsense about gutter religion, Judaism, gutter, or dirty religion, or whatever, and Jesse having to split from Farrakhan, and you know what happened. Of course, I knew it would happen. But when we were with Jacobs, Minister Farrakhan and myself, one of the things we agreed upon was that we must have the phone numbers of each other. They didn't even have each other's phone numbers. And we must have the house phone numbers. So that when we hear something on the radio that Farrakhan said this about Jacobs, before Jacobs attacks Farrakhan, Jacob will call Farrakhan and see if what the paper says is true. We agreed to this. We did agree to this. Of course, this was not written in a letter. This was a verbal commitment. But we're brothers. We can't lie. And I'm a revolutionary. I can't lie to you. Of course, when Jesse Jackson made his split and the Zionists, once again, with a nice plot, did everything, Johnny Jacobs, without calling Minister Farrakhan to see if in fact he made the statement, what was the content in which the statement was made, wrote public articles condemning Minister Louis Farrakhan. Once again, Zionism had come to block and destroy the unity of the African community. We are not stopping. And the Million and More March puts us properly in a position to create a united front in this country of the political organizations, given some semblance of unity and creating some atmosphere of unity where we can come to organize our people. I must tell you, the major enemy to our unity is Zionism. I tell you this as a result of over 30 years of constant struggle to organize and unify our people. I know them every step of the way. They are the slimiest slime that imperialism has ever produced. They will do everything to keep us divided, want to run our own concepts for us, teach us. They fight to teach our children. Isn't that nice of them? Quite liberal. Quite liberal. Their job is to keep us enslaved. Their job is to control us, so that while controlling us, American imperialism and the right wing and the racist wing will be venting all their rage on us and on nobody else. But we who are determined see victory even in death. We're going to have a united front.